eggs. And I think that with Charlie gone, there's obviously going to be a concern. And I did stress, and I used the example of Tyler Boyer. I'm like, this is a person that it's like an open secret what he's into. And you guys are signaling that like he's a part of the family. What am I supposed to make of that? Is that just bad judgment? Or is that like kicking the can down the road? Or is it kind of overt, we're going to protect bad people? You know, this is all the stuff that I said. Trust me, I said everything that I have said on the show. I just didn't want to like give you a 4-hour podcast today about everything. Okay, let's see. I have one here of the questions. Okay. Oh, I figured out how to do the questions. Okay. Is there information that you absolutely cannot discuss? No, there is not information that I absolutely cannot discuss. That's why I'm saying ask me anything that you want right now. Does Erica still want you to stop? Did she explain herself? Yeah. So Erica said that the reason that she told me to stop was because of the way Barry set up the question. And so she was basically saying like, you know, stop, that's it. And then there apparently was a lull, which could have been edited. And Barry kind of wanted her to say more, but she didn't say more. That's what she told me. This person said, do you believe that the world can trust Erica and trust Turning Point USA? You know, I don't think that we can trust anything until we figure out what happened on that day. You know, that's why I said I'm not voting until we figure this out. And this weird peer pressure that we all need to vote and just like keep focusing on politics and support conservative organizations. And like, it's like, no, because to me, if this is covered up and we don't get a clear answer, and when I say a clear and convincing answer, I don't mean $1 billion campaign spent on influencers telling you that the answer is clear. I mean, like we all look at each other and go, yeah, like 100%, we saw him pull the trigger and that's it, it's over. And even in that regard, even if I actually saw Tyler Robinson pull the trigger, and I don't think he did, and I haven't moved 1 inch on that opinion, but even if I did actually see him do that, I still would not think he acted alone. So I don't think that we should just be moving on and trusting everybody. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's no way that Erica could know that organization this quickly. Like there's 650 employees and someone was just assassinated in broad daylight and people are telling lies. People are telling lies. We're going over the lies like on the show live. So I don't get how anybody could trust the situation right now. This person says, what's one thing you learned that you didn't know prior? I mean, there's a lot of things I learned that I didn't know prior. I think probably the part that we discussed about the magic bullet, them saying that, you know, Andrew was kind of flying rogue and just did that. And I will say I struggle with that one a lot. I struggle to believe that because first and foremost, how on earth, like we'd have to believe that first off, the surgeon who's a professional who works at multiple hospitals just thought it was fine to talk to a PR agent who in theory, he shouldn't have even seen Andrew, right? Like I said, Andrew gets there later. I'm assuming the surgeon didn't just wait around to hold hands. That's not what surgeons are supposed to do. They should be working on the next patient, whatever it is. Okay, he had to have had permission because otherwise doctor would be like, who are you? Like how, especially when there were so many people looking for information, I would imagine the doctor would have been on high alert. So I feel like like we're not getting the truth of that conversation. Like more happened. There was some sort of a facilitation between that conversation. That's weird. And then you have to believe that not only did Andrew fly rogue and call the surgeon, and then the surgeon violated HIPAA to talk to Andrew, but then on top of that Andrew then was like, I'm going to tweet this and I'm going to put quotation marks because I remembered from memory what the doctor said. I'm just like, that's a lot of stuff that had to have happened. And I don't know. I just don't. I feel like there's a little bit more to that story. This person said, did EK comment on the Egyptian planes following her? I've talked about this on the show. We're going to get more into Egyptian planes tomorrow. She definitely seemed receptive to it. I'll say that. She was definitely receptive to it, and there's no way not to be receptive to it because it's true. It's happening. This person is, are you now paid by Israel? No, it's Qatar. It's always Qatar. This person says, did you find it strange that Erica had Charlie's phone during investigation? I forgot to mention on the show today. I did ask whether or not the feds took Charlie's phone, and they didn't. I think the feds are involved. I've been pretty clear about this. Like, I hope you guys, like, the feds are involved. Like, I just believe this in my soul that the feds are involved in this. There are some things that I have not said publicly because there was only one person who would know this and they would lose their job. Let me put it this way. I am like 99% sure the feds were involved with what happened on that day. That's where I'm at personally. Okay. I don't even question that. Like, that's not even something that I'm willing to play the game with. The Akash Patel, what did he know? Where did he know? So now for me, it's like how many people at Turning Point knew that. And I have bad feelings about a lot of people that are there. I shouldn't say a lot of people. That's not fair. A lot is me being dramatic, but I have some bad feelings about people that are there. And especially when their stories start to run into each other, like we've shown, it's not good. Because it's like, what's the point of telling small lies, right? Like, I thought it was weird that, like, Elizabeth got cut out of the story of Mikey's first phone call when they were all so insistent that was like a military maneuver, you know? This person says, are you not being paid by Israel? Did you ask about Pierre DuPont? I had already asked Justin Strife about Pierre DuPont, and he said that he did not know Pierre DuPont. And I had asked that before we had ever even sat down. I did not ask Erica about Pierre, which I should have done. And I had a list of questions, and I did not think to ask her about Pierre. I should have done that. I can still do that, though, because the lines of communication are open. So there you go. Is there anything that Erica said that you didn't believe? I think I kind of just answered that question. I struggled with, I struggle with the Andrew Colbert tweeting that by himself. Like, it's pretty standard. Non-doctors know that you have to speak to next of kin. And also, I would say the Bibi Netanyahu offer, saying that, you know, she didn't know about that offer. I don't know. Are we, like I said, I'm trying to assume that there are still Israeli donors who are facilitating this, like, sit down with Barry Weiss. And that's the reason why there still seems for me to be this, like, protection of Israel. That's just how I feel. I feel like the company is interested in protecting Israel's interests. And I do think that there's some Israel angle to the story. And nobody made me think that other than Bibi Netanyahu right after Charlie was killed. Do you think Erica is okay? Yeah, I do think she's okay. Are you and her friends? Like, we were never, like, close friends, obviously, because what happens when you get married is you, like, focus on your family and your kids. And I started having kids right away with George while him and her were dating. We've always been cordial. We have always gotten along, and we were always very supportive of one another when her and Charlie were dating, then when her and Charlie got married. And I do think she's okay. I think, you know, something that she did say, which I mentioned on the show today, was that her and, like, basically that, like, the way that she copes is by working. Like a workaholic, you know, like throwing herself into work is like a form of grieving for her, which I think a lot of people had questions about that. I didn't ask her a question about that. She kind of offered, actually, how did that come up? She didn't offer it. There was something that I said, and then she was like, well, I can explain. I can't remember. I genuinely can't remember. I don't want to butcher it and put words in her mouth. This person says, let me scroll down here. Who does she think killed Charlie? I think she expressed herself, hence the reason why I pointedly asked the question. She expressed, at least what I got from the Glenn Beck interview, was that she believes that it was Tyler Robinson, and I don't see how she gets there. On the basis of the conversation I have with the lawyer, I feel even less compelled that it was Tyler Robinson. I was holding on to, like, the off chance that they had some smoking gun, literally like a smoking gun that we didn't have access to, and we were just like the dumb and ignorant public. That's not true. So I just don't get that. I do not get that at all. Or was I asked to sign an NDA? Clearly not. That's why I'm talking to you guys right now. What about her ties to Romania and the missing kids that she sent to Epstein Island? I never heard about kids being sent to Epstein Island. The entire thing about Romania, I have never even covered on my show. So I was not the person equipped to ask any of those questions. I kept telling you guys, like, I was fully locked in on what happened on September 10th. I obviously saw all the TikToks about her mom, about the CIA thing. Actually, her mother did come up. That was interesting. That is actually a very interesting point. I will tell you right now, the most like raw emotion that I have ever seen from Erica was when she was talking about her mom. She could barely get through, because I knew like from Charlie when they got together, like her mom was sick, and like because he had sent her overseas, I think it was Iceland or somewhere, actually Austria, to try some treatment, and so I knew that her mother had been sick. When she even started talking about her mom, like it was the one time that she broke and looked like she was about to cry, and like turned really red, like, you know, like she was trying to keep it together. And I can tell you like that she loves her mom. That I've never seen, like I would stand that to the end, that Erica Kirk very much loves her mom and she's very close with her mother. Most raw emotion I have seen from her, like authentic raw emotion, was when we brought up the topic of her mom. And that was in relation to, I asked her straight up how she knew Tyler Boyer. That's another thing that's just coming to my mind right now because I'm just riffing at you, but you can't remember everything. I mean, guys, it just happened. It was a 4.5 hour meeting. I took notes. You just got to give me time to like process them. That's when her mother came up, and she was like, yeah, she loves her mom. Her mother being sick is something that genuinely impacts her. Why did the conversation have to be private? What do you want me to tell you? That's what I was offered. What do you want me to do? Like, that's what I was offered. I was offered public. I said yes. I was offered private. I said yes. I'm going to take whatever I can get. And I hope that we can then have a conversation in the public, that it can be AMA style and the public can ask all of their questions. I don't, if I was in their position, I would do it. I told them their PR has been a disaster. I think their PR, I said, this is a new PR world, and I feel like you guys have been treating the public like they're stupid, and they're not. They're not stupid. They have sussed this, you know, they know this entire situation is suspicious, and I feel like you should just be kind of like dealing more honestly with the public. This person says, why hasn't Erica protected you regarding the FBI? Oh, that didn't even come up. Honestly, I didn't even think to ask her about like, oh, could you reach out to the FBI for me? Because that's not how it's supposed to work. I pay taxes. The FBI should answer because I reached out to the FBI. And I think it's obvious. It's because I think they're involved, and I think Kash Patel is petty. And that's the reason why they're doing absolutely nothing about me saying that I have information pertaining to foreigners being on the ground that day. They're just not interested at all. Somebody said, did they threaten you? I was absolutely not threatened. Am I safe? Who knows? I mean, I'm fighting like 6 countries, one of them being the demonic entity that is Israel. Probably not, but it is what it is. This person said, do you think Charlie would still want you to apply pressure? Yeah, I do. I do think Charlie would still want me to apply pressure. And figure out what's happening, and that's why I'm doing it. Did you clarify anything surrounding whether or not an autopsy occurred? I already told you guys for a fact an autopsy did happen, so I didn't have that on my list of questions because I had already confirmed that. Was yesterday your first time speaking with Erica since 9/10? Yes, it was. Will TPUSA own up to the lies as much as you did? Will they defend you publicly? That's actually a good question. It was a private conversation. It would actually be great for them to then have it on the show and to own that they lied. That would be good, to exercise some humility, because I feel like I've been public enemy number 1, and all I ever did was tell everybody the truth from day one. Does Erica think Tyler killed Charlie? Yes, I think she's already said that on multiple interviews. Was there discussion around UVU remodeling the crime scene? No, I forgot to ask that question, so that was my bad. Did they address the issues? Also, because I don't know that I should have thought about that, but I feel like that's more like a Fed question, and I was trying to focus on like Turning Point USA questions. Did they address the issues with the finances and taxes? They brought an entire tax document thing for me to look through. I'm not an accountant, which is why I haven't spent much time talking about their finances other than the Doge thing, which I was like, that was a weird lie. I don't understand like why Tyler would say that that's like something that he had always done. And they owned that was not something that they had always done. So again, this is the stuff why I feel like we could have benefited from doing a public like live stream, because they did own a lot of the stuff, and it, like you said, it has not been owned in a public capacity. This person says, was Erica surprised by anything that she wasn't before? I would say, yeah, she was very surprised on one thing that I kind of surprised them with that I hadn't said publicly. And I explained to them that it was a very big reason why I am convinced that someone at Turning Point knows more about Charlie's death. I think they were very shocked by that when I told them what that thing was, which was like basically that somebody inside of Turning Point told me that. I'm not naming names, but somebody inside of Turning Point told me that Turning Point was involved. And they were kind of jaws on the floor about that. And we're like, okay. And I was like, look, I haven't put that information out in the public yet because I am aware of what the ripple effect of that will be. And I also, it could very well be, obviously, in terms of conspiracy, do we think 650 employees at Turning Point USA are in on it? No. But I think it helped them see that I was being compelled by what I'm being told. And I have not told the public every single detail of everything that I've been told because I am playing a game of chess. I need to figure out, to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that. So there is that as well. I'm going to do a few more questions here. Darn, I accidentally scrolled to the top here. You guys asked a few times, who do you think? Did you find it strange that Erica has Charlie's phone during this investigation? I find it strange the FBI didn't take his phone. But then I think about it and I'm like, actually, it's not strange because I think the FBI is in on it. So it's like, yeah, I know they did some weird stuff, starting with in the hospital. I know the feds were there. I've never said that until just now. The feds were at the hospital way too early, in my opinion, and they did some weird stuff. I don't know what to say other than that, right? I could say more, but I'm just kind of trying to wait and process a few more things. This person says, okay, sorry, I'm scrolling just because I realized yes, we asked about the Doge audit. I thought I said something about that on the show today. Why do you trust the call logs? They could have been fabricated. You're absolutely right. They could have been fabricated. But if they fabricated them, to whose benefit? It actually made it seem like everybody lied. So, of course, they were, in fact, edited. It wasn't the full call log, uninterrupted, printed from the website because they wanted to just show me the relevant portions. But that's all we had. I would prefer to sit down with Mikey and for Mikey to show me his call logs in person. I'm open to that. If I ever get an opportunity to go on their show, I would just be like, can you show me the phone so I have the confidence? I can only tell you guys what I was told, This person says, I told you about the Egyptian planes. You'll have so much more on that tomorrow, so I'm going to skip that. Who styles your hair? Mia, who came with me for the vibes, my cousin, A1 since day one. She can't stand me, but she's always with me. Do you believe that Erica Kirk is skeptical of Kash Patel? That's a good question. I feel that, and this is not coming from the private meeting, this is coming from just public messaging, that they have been trusting of Kash Patel. That they have been, in communication with him is what I've been told. They've been in communication with him. I find that to be weird because I think Kash Patel is completely and utterly full of shit. So if she is skeptical, it was not communicated to me. And I didn't ask that question specifically. Is Erica interested in the story of the witness that called you the military meeting that he saw in the military base? I think that's an interesting question. I don't feel that I got they were not, I guess what's the word? They're agnostic. There wasn't a oh, whoa, that's really weird. And there wasn't a well, actually, I shouldn't say there wasn't a chance to shut it down. What they did was they brought Brian Harpole's his travel logs from Tokyo. Because remember, initially when I did the episode, I was like, oh, they couldn't have made it back in time for this meeting. I was actually wrong about that because I was forgetting how much time you gain back when you fly back from Tokyo. I think we figured out through this series, I'm not the best at time zones. Anyway, so they had his travel stuff. And I have his travel stuff, which is why I said we'll get back into the Camp Huachuca thing later. And by no means is it shut down. This is a very strong lead. And I do sense that there was major panic about this meeting. Like the attacks leveled up, and that's saying a lot because they've been attacking me nonstop. So when they gave me Brian Harple's thing, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this doesn't debunk anything. He could have definitively made it, because I explained to them that Brian Harple, that person who is certain that he saw Brian Harple, he says, and we're going to have him on the show hopefully tomorrow, he says that he saw Brian Harple, and that was like around like 7:47 a.m. So he's unaccounted for during those times. What I can tell you is, and I'll show you this tomorrow, like Brian Harple got back from Tokyo into Dallas early in the morning on September 8th. So that's a full day. He could have been at Camp Huachuca on the 8th. But Brian Harple, by the way, is calling around, like telling people he's going to like sue me or something, which is weird because he hasn't even sent a cease and desist. He's like talking to Tim Pool apparently and saying weird stuff, and got a message out to somebody else and was like trying to seed. Like basically I feel like Brian Harple is scared of us investigating Huachuca, and so he's intentionally signaling to people in the public that he's going to sue me. And when people as a strategy don't just like hit you up and say, hey, you got something wrong, here's so you can correct it, but then go the route of like legal threats, they have something to hide. It's very simple to just like shut something down with the truth and say, hey, I saw this, you got mixed up. He's trying to like scare me with lawsuits. So I feel like Camp Huachuca is the undoing of everything, okay? Tomorrow's episode is going to be very interesting. And that's all I can say, like, for right now, because we had to put the pieces together and try to figure out who was there at that meeting. But Baron Coleman's episode really helped build upon the fact that someone very important from DC was at that meeting. And he verified, in case you didn't see it, that this was a high-level meeting. I had people on the base who verified that the windows were blacked out. It was turned into an intelligence operation. Also, that in general, Camp Huachuca is an intelligence base. He stumbled upon this meeting, and it could literally solve the entire Charlie Kirk case. That's why I said I need to focus my energy on that, because I feel like part of this creating this like war with Erica and people saying this, that, you know, I was beating employees at Daily Wire, and them even releasing like the firing tape. I didn't even discuss this today. The firing tape of Jeremy Boring on stage, firing me and calling me anti-Semite. It feels like they're trying to distract me because it's the last week of the podcast. And I feel like I have to focus on this. Like I feel like we could solve it. So if we get any detail about the Camp Huachuca base. So I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. I won't answer any questions. Like I said, I'm not convinced by anything. So I'm sorry if you are upset that I took the only opportunity that I was given to sit down and try to get answers, and did my best to kind of deliver to like the high level, low level. I do think it's good that we have communication with Turning Point USA. I think that's a good thing, because it allows us to, when we find a lie, to instantly have me message Justin and say,